Oh man, I love the way that comes in. I just love the way that comes in. You hear it, right? Ooh. Doo. You know what? Right now, I want to give a special shout out. We're going to do one of these. Special shout out. Let's turn that up a little bit so you can hear it. Special shout out. I don't know why it wasn't playing. There it is. Special shout out. And the reason why we're doing a special shout out is simple. I got the analytics for the year, and I have something that to me is wonderful. I'm super excited about it, and I'm glad that I got those reviews because it gives me an idea of who my audience is, in the sense of like appreciation and even subject discussions. But I want to start off this podcast by saying that I want to thank everyone for helping to grow this podcast in 2021. 2022, I know is just going to be an even bigger year for us. So I want to thank everyone. If you hear me, everyone who's contributed, I want to say thank you. So I really do appreciate your guys' effort and dedication and loyalty to this podcast. With that being said, I want to give a special thank you to my audience out in Columbus, Ohio. As I mentioned, I got my analytics, I got the stats for the year, and Columbus, Ohio shows the Culture Punch podcast love. That is why they're getting the special hand clap. Everyone can have a shout out, but for the loyal listeners and the people who keep coming back and spreading the word all the way to Columbus, Ohio, thank you, and thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do. It's not an easy thing to start, to grow your audience, I should say. It's easy to start a podcast. It's not an easy thing to grow your audience at all. You have to stick to your subjects, or you have to draw an audience in with something, and you got to keep their attention. It's not just about drawing them in, it's about keeping the attention. People are gonna discover you if you don't continue to produce based off what your audience is wanting or tuning into. You're gonna lose them. You're gonna lose them, and you're gonna have to restart, constant restarting. A lot of my friends ask to do sports podcasts with me, and I really don't do a lot of those because, again, that's how I started out. But the reason why I don't do a lot of those is because that's not what this podcast is anymore. That's not what you guys want to hear. And if we're being completely honest, there are a lot of bigger issues out in the world than just sports. Sports is a nice distraction, but we all know that politics was introduced to sports a long time ago. So it's not as sacred as it used to be. The second thing I want to touch before we get into the podcast is I got to give a shout out to the YouTube channel, man. I want to push that your way, and I want you guys to kind of share it, to subscribe, like, whatever you guys have to do, because eventually I'd like to start live streaming on there. And last I checked, you have to have, I believe, at least 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers in order to live stream. That could have changed, because I do want to do live streams like I've done on the Facebook page, but I actually want to put it on YouTube. Culture Punch, just look for that same thing, ? And you guys go like, subscribe, turn on your notifications if that's what you want to do. Again, we appreciate all the love. Now, we are in 2022, so Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to the listeners, to the day ones, to the new ones. We appreciate you. So Happy New Year to you guys. Hope you guys have the best 2022. New Year's resolutions are very popular around this time. Whatever your New Year's resolution is, I hope that you stick to it, and I hope that you can do it. I feel like that was a song. But I posed the question to you guys, what kind of year are we going to have in 2022? 2021, and this isn't a recap episode. I could do one, but this isn't a recap episode. But in 2021, there was a lot of negativity. There was still segregation amongst genders now, male and female. And there was a big one with females. What am I trying to say? There was a big one with females and males, in the sense of females just absolutely started to hate males. And as the year went on, it just got worse. It worsened. And I get my information from social media. You see these posts, you see the shares, you see all this. And now there's new platforms like TikTok that's really blowing up. New ways for people to discuss their hate, which is weird. Which is so just incredibly weird for me. But that was 2021. What kind of 2022 are we going to have? I'll tell you this. So far, we are going to get into a couple of things as far as like, I'm all about love and positivity, but I think there are a couple of things that need to be called out and be discussed, because these are things that I saw, and it brings joy to my heart that there's still humans out there that are willing to make sure that they correct facts, or people's facts that they believe to be facts. But so far, the virus is still evolving, and we're still concerning ourselves with vaccination status, and it's almost become like a social credit score, or acting like a social credit score. And then for all of us, it's like we're pawns in a game of chess, because we're so distracted with the things that separate us that we're not even playing this game like kings and queens. Instead, we are being positioned easily to be sacrificed for the greater good of the game. What do I mean? We are continuously arguing and bickering and creating more segregation that we can't see that governments, and especially big pharma, are making money moves that are continuously being disguised for us to give up our constitutional rights without us knowing. A big one, the vaccine mandate. I know there's a lot of people out there that are for it and want everyone to get vaccinated, which is fine, but it's still a constitutional right for you to choose, especially for you to be well informed of the decision that you're making instead of being strong-armed into making that decision. I understand that the virus is spreading at an alarming rate and it's infecting a lot of people, but it's also evolving due to vaccinations. If you're going to do anything early on in 2022, make sure you go check out the Joe Rogan podcast with Dr. Malone, who invented the tech for vaccinations way back when AIDS pandemic happened, and listen to what he has to say about the vaccine now. For those of you out there that want to get more information from the horse's mouth, other than Fauci, this guy is non-biased, but he has scientific analytics, might ring some alarms in your head and make you a little bit more aware of what is really going on. But again, the vaccine mandate, that's a constitutional violation. You can't mandate that. But there's still good people out there, good and honest people in power positions, because a grand judge just ruled to remove the vaccine mandate for big companies. Now, I don't know if that extends to governments, because here they are making at least the city workers, and they're, I think, moving the state workers as well into mandating that they have the vaccine. I know a colleague of mine, he dates a girl that works for the state, and she had the option to do the weekly negative tests, but he said that was going to be going away soon. So I don't know if this extends to governments, but I know that this extends to big companies. And what companies does that fall under? I'm not sure. I would assume, Amazon, Verizon, Microsoft, Google, maybe those companies. I would assume, because they're not government, that they would be the companies that would be having to give the choice of a vaccine or a negative test. So I don't know if that extends to governments or not, but they're giving them now the option for vaccine, or the grand judge ruled that they have to give them the option of your vaccine card or negative test weekly. So that's good. So the good news here is that Americans will still be able to exercise basic liberties that up to this point were being threatened. And I'm sure I'll provide more details and maybe even discuss further in depth in a later podcast as the story develops. But this is ongoing, so I'm sure we'll get into discussing. Alyssa's really big into keeping up with the vaccine news and stuff, so that'll be an episode I'll probably bring her on for. But I want to touch on the separation or the segregation thing a bit more. I want to give you a real world example of something I came across on Facebook that I just thought was so dumb and ignorant. It was about the Antonio Brown thing, and I know I'm late to the party. I wasn't going to give an opinion on this, but again, I ran into this and I said, "Are you kidding me? Are you joking?" Like when I saw this, I couldn't believe it, and I just had to call it out because I liked the comment section, how people actually stood their ground. But it was about the Antonio Brown incident. For those of you who don't know, or maybe are listening to this podcast in the future, I'll give you a rundown very briefly. Antonio Brown, or better known as AB, in the 2021-22 season, played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during a Week 18 game, which, by the way, is the first in NFL history. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. But in the last game of the season, in the middle of the game against the Jets, he took off his jersey, pads, gloves, undershirt, and he left the building. Literally left the sidelines, threw a few things in the crowd. And I'm not talking about like out of anger. He threw, like his shirt and gloves to some fans and things like that as he was leaving. But he did jog across the end zone and he left the building while the game was still going. Granted, they weren't going that way. He went opposite, but he was still on the field, which I thought was funny. Or the initial report for him doing this was AB was asked to go back into the game and he refused due to injury. He had an ankle injury. This is where the dumb and ignorant part comes in, though, okay? Someone that I knew as a kid from around the way, well, I didn't really know him, but you know what I'm saying? Like you know people from around the way. And this individual posted a picture showing that Antonio Brown was only a few catches and a few yards away. It was like 8 catches, and I can't tell you how many yards away from hitting his incentive bonus. That would have paid him an extra $1 million. I get it. Let's get your money. I understand. Let me finish and then we'll rewind, okay? This individual claimed that AB took off his pads and left mid-game because Coach Bruce Arians knew he was about to hit that bonus and get that incentive, and so he benched him. And AB was pissed and he left. So that is supposedly the true reason why he got upset and left the game. This individual then went on to insinuate, and I say insinuate because he didn't clearly say it, but he was definitely insinuating it. Had AB been white and not black, he would have been allowed to stay in the game and get his money. And I say insinuate again because he didn't clearly say it or say that, but one of the posts that followed was the story of Tom Brady in the game to get Gronk paid. It was a story to get Gronk paid. And this person said, I'm going to quote this, right? See the difference? Tom Brady refused to come out of the game until Gronk got his $1 million bonus, end quote. But he's doubling down on the narrative that it wasn't due to injury, but to them trying to stop AB from getting paid. This individual then goes on to say that Brown was trying to play through injury, but wasn't allowed. We got to cut it out already, man. We got to cut this out. White, black, Latino, or Asian, it doesn't matter. We got to stop. Racism is not just one race, okay? Racism, just like it's not just one person or one entity, but it exists because of a collective of individuals or groups from all demographics, from all walks of life. Keep it alive. So this is a two-way street. Not one race is just races. There's a bunch, and we got to cut it out. And that's a perfect example of someone trying to create a narrative for something that isn't there. And before I get to the proof, let me say this. I know this is going to sound off topic, but just stay with me. I feel that when females get sexually assaulted, I shouldn't say I feel like, when they get sexually assaulted, they should be taken seriously. I feel that because I've seen women claim to have been assaulted and crying wolf when it's not true and they are in need of attention, I would assume. But by doing that, you are taking away from real victims, real life victims, and real pain. That's what people don't understand what you're doing. You're trying to tap into something, a pain that people have actually felt that you have no idea about. And you're hindering their ability to get the truth out about what they have gone through and what actually happened to them, because too many women out there have lied about being assaulted because, I don't know, they're clout chasing or attention seeking. I don't know. It's something. And it's got to stop. It really does. It's got to stop. It's just, I don't know, man. And here's the other thing. I feel the same in this case. Too many black people have been victims of racism where not only do they carry mental and emotional scars, but they also carry physical ones as well. And when you have someone like this individual trying to create a narrative that isn't there, great or small, I don't care. To me, it's equivalent to spitting in the face of those victims. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't care who you are. Racism is not okay. And I'm glad that there are still people in this world willing to say something to those people and call them out on their stupidity, or to put it nicely, their transgressions. And this is where I say I went into the comment sections, and this is what I'm talking about when I say that there are still people out there that are willing to do something about it. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, so to make a long story short, Here it is. Ready? People explain how the media reported AB left. This is in the comments. How AB left because he wouldn't play through injury, and the individual came back with comments about how people shouldn't believe the media, while being contradicting because this individual was saying his media, okay, said what he claimed they said, which was that he got benched because he was about to hit his incentive. That's what this individual said. So he got called out for believing his media instead of the mass media. He was saying, how are you going to listen to me? That's media. You weren't there. While he's saying my media is saying this, like, so contradicting. And that's why I'm saying I'm glad that he got called out for it. And so then when he finally got exposed, he hit the comments like all other people who cower, who had just gotten caught and got showed up. He hit him with the, oh, I'm just having fun. Come on, cut it out. No, you weren't. You thought you were going to create a narrative, and then you got called out on it, showed up, and then you stopped. But so anyway, ready for this? Ready for the proof? AB himself released messages stating that Bruce Arians knew he was hurt and that's why he couldn't finish the game, and that coach was trying to play AB and act like he didn't know AB was hurt. And when AB refused to go in the game because he physically couldn't, he was told to leave, and the coach used the throat cut gesture to indicate you're being cut right now. So what better source than the man himself? Then AB goes on to say that he and coach had talks before he even got on the plane to travel from Florida to New York. So he was well aware, confirming again on a podcast a day or two afterwards that he indeed got into the altercation because he was hurt and refused to go in. So that narrative that he was benched to not meet his marks, it's not true. But before I move on back to a positive vibe, while I'm on the exposing vibes, the same individual later posted on another Facebook post that a doctor confirmed AB shouldn't have played in that game or a few previous ones as well, bringing it back full circle to this individual's contradiction and further exposing his lie to create a racial narrative that in this case didn't exist. So just like the females who cry wolf, please stop trying to paint pictures and narratives that don't exist in certain situations, because as far as the Black community has come, they don't need someone like you spitting in all the progress that has been made by trying to introduce a racist narrative in this situation where it doesn't exist. It just doesn't make any sense. And the reason why I started off by saying that all races can be racist, all races can be racist, that sounded weird, is because this individual is a part of the Black community. And it's so dumb to try to create that narrative. Now, after I did the research and things like that, Shannon Sharpe came out and said he didn't believe it. He doesn't believe he was hurt. He believes that his teammates are covering up because Tom Brady talked about mental health and said that it had to be something related to mental health. Antonio Brown doesn't believe he has CTE, but he can never know until he obviously passes away, because that's how you find out. It sounds as though AB does have some mental things going on. But going back to what Shannon Sharpe said, I got off topic for a second. Shannon Sharpe said that he believes that, well, there was murmurs saying that at halftime, Antonio Brown was pissed because he was about to, he was away from getting his incentives and he wasn't being targeted. So he made it known like he wanted to get targets, and he was upset that he wasn't getting the ball because he wanted his money, which is fine. I understand that. I understand you want to get your money and things like that because you're on an incentive-based contract. Shannon Sharpe then went on to go ahead and touch on how the team isn't saying anything about him or calling him out because he's Black. And he's like, I know I'm going to be called an Uncle Tom and all this stuff. He's like, but I report non-biased news. And what I'm saying is that I believe that he's playing victim and his teammates, because he's Black, are not calling him out. He definitely has some issues. But another thing Shannon Sharpe said that I myself was like, yeah, like, why are you on an incentive-based contract in the first place? Why are you on an incentive-based contract in the first place? Was it not you that, and I think your words were gremlin or goblin, but was it not you that said you wanted to be a gremlin or a goblin? You wanted to be remembered for causing chaos? I know you said that off the field. So your antics just go to further show that. Now, I know, so he was messing around with like some Instagram model or OnlyFans model while he was out in New York. And she came out and said, she exposed the text message, but she came out and said that he wanted to record their interaction. And then he said, or he was telling her to post it. And she was like, why? You're famous. Why'd you want to post it? He's like, you don't want that negative attention. He's like, don't worry about it. Post it. So it sounds like he's trying to do all this other stuff. There's something going on with him. I do believe there's something going on with him. And that's why he's trying to do all this other stuff. There's no reason for it. There's no other explanation. Because you had $30 million or $34 million guaranteed with the Oakland Raiders. And the Oakland Raiders, who just were in the playoffs, by the way, who could have used a receiver that was a number one guy, someone they can throw to over the top to fit perfectly with the style of offense that they have and to fit Carr's style. Carr likes letting that ball rip. You have Renfro, who's a good slot guy, so you have everything inside, middle covered, slot out covered, and then you have your tight end who can run those seam routes and also those curls. Like you have the balance would have been an AB with the over the top. They were just in the playoffs. How much better would AB have made him? But you decided to give that up because you didn't want to play there. You did the foot thing in France where you froze your feet and then you came back and then you got into it with the coaches and I think the owner or the GM for sure. There's something going on, man. Why would you? I like the way Shannon Sharp said it. Shannon Sharp said you gave up $34 million for an incentive-based contract. He's like, I don't know no other professional. It's like, hey, we're going to give you $1 million. And it's like, nah, you know what? Just pay me an hour instead. Just pay me hourly. He's like, I don't know anyone who would do that, who's dumb enough to do that. So I like that Shannon Sharp isn't creating no narrative. There's no bias. He's just calling it what it is. And he's calling him out for what's going on. And again, it might not all be AB's fault. I think there's truly something going on with him mentally to the point where he it's like a child. You don't know any better. But I think that the people around him need to see about him getting help. I don't know if he's going to play in the football in the NFL again, but I don't know. And for those of you guys who aren't aware of maybe the stuff that's been going on with Antonio Brown and this whole thing where I mentioned that individual who was trying to create that racial narrative, where he mentioned that other post with Gronk, Brady staying in the game until Gronk got his $1 million. People forget that Tom Brady was the reason why Antonio Brown got a job in the first place. And not only did he get him a job, not only did he let him live with him at his home with his, I don't think his family was there yet, but still let him live with them. Not only did he do all that, but he also last year made sure that Antonio Brown got his catches so he hit his incentive bonus to make sure he got paid. They brought you on another prove it deal this year because they had you for half a season last year, a little less, and they wanted to make sure that you were going to continue on the right path. So your off the field actions are the reason why you're on an incentive-based contract. I guarantee you if you would have had a good year, you would have been paid. Even if it wasn't with the Buccaneers, someone would have picked you up and you would have gotten a 3-year, like $35 million guarantee. I guarantee that would have happened. Because everyone's just waiting to see if you're going to implode. That's why you're getting paid yearly. And that's why you're on incentive-based contracts. Now, I didn't want to go into that negative things, but it really pissed me off that someone's trying to create a narrative when the movement has come too far. So it's not just one race, one individual, one entity. It's one community. It's racism is everywhere because not every single person, but every single race out there. It's nuts. And it's definitely something that's probably as an upbringing thing. I definitely think you should teach your kids color when it comes to people. Like, don't be ignorant and say there's no color. I think you should teach them color so that way they are aware of how we are treated differently. How we are treated differently because of our color, because of our heritage, because of our culture. But I also don't believe that you should teach them to immediately believe that other person is racist or against them. They should be aware, but they should also act as any other American in any other situation and only have those reserves if they've experienced those racial activities or those racial incidents themselves. Not what your parents went through or your grandparents, but you. That's another thing I like about Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne said he's never experienced racism. Racism is stupid that they even ask him that. And he doesn't say the white man this, the white man that. Like, I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan, and his biggest thing is against white people. I get it. I was having this discussion with my buddy the other day. I was telling him, because we got into the discussion of why there is a BET. He was saying that there's a segregation being created by having that channel or that network. And I said, I can see where you're coming from. But, I said, the reason why there's a BET, why BET exists, is because all the execs and all the higher ups of television are white. And they look after their own. It's definitely like a monopoly. It's definitely a who you know. And they definitely treat black people differently. They look at them as entertainers, jesters. That's why they dress them up in dresses and make them do all this weird stuff and for their amusement. So I told him, I said, BET exists because the black community is trying to do whatever they can to just be on an even playing field, to become execs, to run networks, to do that, but they won't let them. So they settle. It's compromise. They're compromising. They're settling for a BET network. So I said, you can't say it's a segregation thing, because there's a problem there in that industry that they're taking what they can get. And BET, I said, that's good. Good for them that they have that. Good for them that they fought for that. But to say that there's segregation, so I told him it goes beyond that. I said it's beyond that. It's beyond black people wanting to have a BET. Because he mentioned, he's like, well, if there was a white entertainment network, I said that's every other channel. Every other channel is white, man. So I told him, look beyond that. Look beyond the channels and everything. Look beyond that. Look at the execs. Look at the people who are masterminding this, who have their hands in it, who are running it. BET exists because that's all they could get. They're trying to climb, and at the time, that's all they gave them. They might have made strides, which is good, but you got to take what you can get sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't know if I changed his mind on it. I don't know if I articulated that correctly, but there's a reason for everything. And I think a lot of the issues go deeper. There's a core issue to everything. And a lot of times, and what happened, I believe, in 2021 with the creating more segregation, it was at face value. We were arguing amongst ourselves, the pawns, while the kings and queens profited. Instead of us turning and saying, look, we got to go after them. They're the ones that are creating all this. They're the ones that are stirring all this up. Instead, we're too busy arguing with each other. Pawn against pawn. And that's a big, big problem. That was a big problem last year. So, and I also mentioned how women were hating men. There was a thing I saw where, I'm gonna dedicate a specific episode to that. So I won't get into that, but just know it exists. It exists, and there's segregation everywhere. It's not just between race. What am I trying to say? It's not just between races. Why does it sound weird? Between different races. It's not just about that, but it's also men and women, probably gay and straight, maybe transgender and straight. It's just everywhere. We all got to be in groups, right? We can't just be all one. We all got to be in groups. I'm part of this clique and that clique, and I'm part of the straight clique, and so I'm fighting for this battle. I'm part of the what am I trying to say? I'm part of the male clique. Like, so we got to argue with females. Why? Why is it always arguing? That's the greater issue that a lot of people don't see. And that's where I'm at. Like, why are we focusing on everything else when we should be focusing on this one thing? And that's coming together. But what do I know, right? What do I know? Look, man, I've told you guys plenty of times. This world isn't going to get better unless we turn back to God. A lot of people aren't going to like that, because that means giving up a lot of liberties that have already been experienced, and have more of a conservative mind. But there's a good balance. But there's also, we just turn so far away from God. It's crazy, man. And I don't know, but let me know what you guys think. As always, you guys can follow us, culturepunchpodcast.com. You can go on any platform for podcasts. We're there. You can go ahead and reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, Culture Punch Podcast. Twitter's Culture_Punch. make sure you guys go check out that YouTube channel. I have a video that I'm going to be releasing. It's going to be a review video. So I'm still trying to find an equal medium. I want to do reviews maybe initially just for those people that listen to the podcast and want to know what I have or what's good in comparison. I'd like to help you with that. But initially, I'm going to jump into storytelling and a few other things. And we will be getting into video podcasting this year, so make sure you guys look out for that. But again, Culture Punch is the channel that's on YouTube. Go check it out. Like, subscribe, share it. Definitely going to help us out by doing that. So anyone who wants to help us out, I know I have a Buy Me a Coffee link. Don't even worry about that. The best thing you can do is listen, subscribe, share, and share and share and share. It's the best thing you can do. So thank you guys again for a wonderful, wonderful 2021 year. Really looking forward to 2022. Because all we're going to be doing now is growing. That's it. We're going to grow and grow and grow and grow. So thank you again. Make sure you guys tune into everything I told you guys. Next time, or until next time, this is the Culture Punch Podcast. I'm Wall Street, aka Kid Culture, and I'm out.